My bad, guys. Sorry. All right, how y'all doing? We're live on YouTube, Odyssey, Substack, and today is probably the last day on X. We'll just call it the last day on X. My subscription expires tomorrow. I don't know if that allows me to stream tomorrow or not, but I'm just not even going to try tomorrow. So people who are watching on X, I've said this every single day, for the last 4 or 5 days, or 6 days, or 7 days. You can't watch me on X after tomorrow, or after today. So go over to Substack, Black Bear News, and watch me on Substack, or watch me on Odyssey, or watch me on YouTube. Okie dokie. I went undercover. But good to see y'all here. What do I want to? Are you asking me, Poppy, what I want to be the primary channel? Honestly, I think eventually I'd like Substack and Odyssey to be the primaries and not YouTube, but we will stay on. I'm not leaving YouTube anytime soon. I will announce it if I leave YouTube. I don't know if YouTube is going to let me. Yeah, I know. D'Angelo passed. That's very sad news. Really sad. What was I saying? I'd like for people to be used to watching me on Substack and Odyssey and not necessarily relying on YouTube. It seems that everybody congregates to YouTube, probably because I can see the chats and I can respond to the chats, but I can also see the chats on Odyssey and Substack. So if you guys want to go ahead and go on over there, I know it doesn't make it as fun when it's not it doesn't make it as fun when it's not right. Everybody's not in the same feels like they're not in the same place. I get it. I'm just saying, I mean, what if we all agreed to just go over to Odyssey, and watch on Odyssey and just deplete YouTube of their energy? That would be mighty fine with me. Think of Odyssey as like a new Rockfin. Because there is no more Rockfin, I guess. I mean, there is a Rockfin. I just don't post on Rockfin. I can only post to so many places. And in Substack, as far as like interaction, like how I interact with people on Twitter and other places, I guess Substack would be a good. Substack, Rockfin is no more. That's not true. I get emails from Rockfin every day. But you're just saying my channel is no more. My channel is still there, but I just don't. They're still there. I don't think they're really a viable platform anymore. So yeah, I got you, Denver. Yeah. So Substack, I'd like Substack to kind of replace X in a way. Were you Denver? Yeah. So anyways, that's the news. I can see the chats on Substack. I can see the chats on Odyssey. If you want to go watch me over there and chat over there, that's fine. That'd be great. All right. What are we even talking about today? Oh, thanks, Obsolete Optics. I appreciate you. Obsolete subscribed to me on Substack. Became like a paying subscriber on Substack. So thank you, Obsolete Optics. I appreciate you. Some other people have become paying subscribers on Substack. I thank you. We're just going through some news today. There was the remnants of a typhoon hit Alaska pretty badly. So I know people want to say that like they hate North Carolina, or they hate whatever. I know. I get it. They hate Maui, or they hate something. But I get it. And I'm not necessarily dissuading you from thinking that. But there is a thing called climate change, and it is causing storms to do weird, wacky stuff. And no, I'm sorry, it's not always like a controlled thing. I feel like I need a hat today. My hair is just like doing a mushroom thing. I'm sorry, it's just not like, I wouldn't be surprised if they can be controlled. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it always is. And there is an explanation for storms lasting longer and, traveling longer distances, staying, continuing to stay powerful over time. That explanation is called the Earth is getting warmer. I won't even say climate change. It's called global warming. Look into it. There's science behind it, and the science actually makes sense. Even, sorry if it's, doesn't line up with what James Corbett tells you. I like James Corbett, but he doesn't really talk about climate change in a way that's he hasn't done any looking into the actual science around it. So anyways, so the typhoon did a bunch of I think it's I can't really, the name of the typhoon is Hulong or something like that. But it was the remnants of a typhoon that already hit like the Philippines and China and all kinds of places in the Far East and did a lot of damage already. Then it moseyed on up to Alaska and did a ton of damage. Typhoon Halong. First, we'll look at a couple of posts around it, and then we'll talk about it just a little bit. I think it's interesting that people want to understand that, right? Like we might be powerful enough to control storms, but we're not powerful enough to destroy the planet to the point where the planet doesn't act in the way the planet used to act, right? Like that's an interesting disconnect there. Oh, we totally can control storms and the weather and stuff, but we're definitely not powerful enough to alter the makeup of the planet to the point where things have changed. It doesn't operate the way that it used to. No, we're definitely not that powerful. Okay. Okay, sure. I don't know. And my question is, why can't you understand both ideas? Why can't both ideas be true? Why can't we be powerful enough to possibly control or initiate storms? And we could be powerful enough to alter the climate or alter the environment of the planet so that it doesn't operate correctly. Like, couldn't both be true? I think so. Like, that's not a problem for me to think through, but like for other people, it has to be like one or the other, which is, limited to me. Limited thinking. A storm with Category 4 winds tore through Alaska and barely anyone is talking about it. Quig is virtually underwater. Homes have washed away and entire villages have been wiped out. This is where you send the National Guard. The people of Alaska need help. They need supplies. They will need assistance rebuilding. Yet Trump says nothing and keeps trying to militarize blue cities instead. The population of Quig is mostly indigenous people. Racism, colonialism, again, costing lives. And then when you understand the idea of like blowback, if you understand like we try to create control, we try to control things as much as we can on the planet. And then there's always a large element of not being able to control, right? Like unintended consequences, blowback, et cetera, et cetera. Like the idea that humans can't experience blowback from their own hubris, I feel like that should be a basic understanding. But hey, whatever you want. Here's another good post I found about this situation in Alaska.
Typhoon Halong has caused massive flooding. Homes have been torn from their foundations, and some are even floating miles down the river or out into the ocean. People are missing, and families have lost everything. And yet almost no one is talking about it. Right now, it's only local media covering these stories, or us, community members. But this deserves national and international attention. To understand why these storms hit so hard, we have to remember our history. Once Alaska became a U.S. territory in 1949, the federal government forced our people and our children to attend school, or their parents faced incarceration. This policy broke apart traditional ways of life and forced Yupik people to permanently settle into areas of land. But settler colonialism forced us to live on small, flood prone patches of land that were never meant for permanent settlement. Now, as the Arctic warms faster than anywhere else on the Earth, storms like this are growing even stronger, and they're destroying entire communities. This is not just a natural disaster, this is climate injustice. We need the world to see what's happening here. Climate change in the Arctic isn't just about our polar bears or melting ice. It's about our people. Our communities are on the front lines, and we need the world to pay attention. To those watching this, to those in media, to those especially who look to Indigenous peoples for our stories and our knowledge, do what you can to make this injustice visible, not only to the rest of this country, but to the world. Because this isn't a story that just happened yesterday or years ago. This is happening right now as I speak. What's happening right now in Western Alaska, in Kipnik, Quig, and other communities.
Okay. It was just replaying. But yeah, she's right. That's what's happening. Yeah, reflect the sun. Like you can have a vaccine injury, but also keep infecting yourself with a level 3 virus, right? Right. And I'm certain that there will be that there will be stronger, weirder, wilder encounters with viruses and or pathogens or whatever, or superbugs or what, because of the changing climate. And I'm also certain that the government will create all of these things as well, right? Like, so all of these things can be true at the same time. It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Yeah, so you pretty much heard already what is going on. I don't know that I can add more to the story, but this is some pretty devastating pictures of the area. Climate injustice is the plan. That is the problem with the right and the elites. I'm all right, Jack. Sorry about your loss. Yeah, for sure. I'm positive somewhere it's wrapped up somewhere in the push for total control too. And everybody understands that, a lot of people understand this on some level. It's going to be harder to feed, clothe, and house as many people as we have on the planet when things start spiraling out of control. And then, the people with power want to stay in power and keep all their, keep what they have for as long as they can. And the best way for them to do that is to try and control everyone while everything collapses. And that's been talked about, for years, right? Years and years. But things like this are going to keep on happening, right? Storms are going to keep ricocheting and boomeranging around the oceans from one end to the other. And when you think it's over, it's not going to be over. It's going to keep on going. Let's see. Oh, I already have this open. Kashama Sawant. Today marks 2 years since the genocide in Gaza began. This is from like last week. A lot of people talking about the ceasefire and everything being over. It's not really quite over. They've agreed to let go of some hostages, and they have stopped bombing the ever-living mess out of Palestinians for right now, for a moment, for a couple of days, which is a great respite. But not something necessarily to be, it's to be enjoyed, right? I'm sure. But I don't know if there's still justice involved over this. More than 500,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered. Some say a million. As many as a million have been slaughtered by Israeli state terrorism, yet both parties of U.S. imperialism continue to back this modern-day Holocaust. That is true. Not one party or the other is better on this. They equally funded this and executed this and backed it and supported it. Just like Democrats and Republicans backed Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam, right? They all had a hand in that. Democratic and Republican politicians in the U.S. Congress have provided over $21 billion to Israel to carry out these horrors. Some say 30 or 31 billion. Some say 33. First, under President Biden, who presided over the genocide for 15 months, and now under President Trump, the brutal mistreatment of courageous activists on the global Samud flotilla, including Greta Thunberg and Amazon union leader Chris Smalls, who was also a member of the flotilla, detained and assaulted by Israeli forces, has been met with deafening silence by Democrats, including progressives like AOC and Bernie Sanders. My opponent, Democratic Congress member Adam Smith, has also remained silent, not surprisingly. Smith has called anti-war activists left-wing fascists. There's the fascist word again. If somebody's calling out your fascism, you got to call them a fascist or a terrorist or something like that, or Antifa, and demanded they be arrested. He has voted again and again to fund the genocide and to repeatedly block United Nations food aid to Gaza, despite overwhelming evidence of catastrophic mass starvation in Gaza. The Democratic Party has not a shred of credibility left. Instead of never again, the Democrats have voted again and again to fund the Gaza Holocaust. As recently as July, 207 Democrats, including Adam Smith and AOC, voted to fund the Iron Dome. AOC is not progressive. AOC is not your friend. AOC doesn't care about you at the end of the day. Got to get beyond the nice words, which is part of the weapons apparatus that has allowed the Israeli state to act with impunity with its onslaught against Gaza, as well as other nations in the region, including Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Iran. We need a new party for working and oppressed people in the United States, a party that will base itself on militant mass movements, on mass strike action and mass civil disobedience to end this genocide and to fight unambiguously for working people and the oppressed against the billionaires and the rotten system. I am sick of people saying, like, I understand nonviolence is a really, we should embrace it as much as we can, but don't let the state be the only. They try to make it seem like, oh, if you're violent, the violence. No, they are the arbiters. They're the ones that wield the violence, always. And it's a parlor trick to try and get you, you gotta be nonviolent. You have to be nonviolent. You cannot use violence. You cannot. No. The Second Amendment is literally the right to conduct violence in your defense, right? If you have a right to defend yourself, that means you have a right to do something violent, to act violently, to do violence back to your somebody who's, transgressing against you. Literally, the Second Amendment is literally a right to violence, a right to commit violence in your defense. Violence, the right to defend yourself as an oppressed people, right? To defend yourself against a genocide or any other kind of attack is a right to violence. You have a right to be violent in the face of somebody violently oppressing you. Always stop with the oh, gotta be nonviolent. Stop it. You have a right to defend yourself, and that means a right to violence, to be violent if you need to be violent. Jesus. When she says militant, where is it? We need a global intifada, a mass uprising against this violent capitalist system. Yes, the system is violent. We don't like violence, but I don't know, what are you going to do in the face of it? Give people a kiss? It's funny, though. I did see, people are being really inventive about ways to fight back against what's going on, right? Like in Chicago, they're refusing to give service to ICE people. That's awesome. Yeah, just take a hike, get out of here. No, we're not going to serve you. We're not going to, you're not, your business, your money's no good here. Your business is no good here. It's really inventive. In Portland, they're bringing silliness to the table, right? With the people dressed up as frogs and whatever else. And just like it makes them look, right, this like armed fascist Gestapo who, you guys look like freaking fascists and Gestapo police, right? They're trying to come, say like, oh, Portland is so violent, oh, there's all this, whatever that crazy CIA lady was trying to say yesterday to President Trump. And they're going out there and trying to make it seem like they're, fighting against some kind of organized force. And there's a bunch of like frogs standing around. It's hilarious. It's pretty great. We need to resurrect Earth first. Damn straight, Malcolm Young. But anyways, when she says militant mass movements, what is militant? We at least need to be able to defend ourselves. Right? And you can't, they'll call anything violent, right? Words are violent. That's the thing, is that, the whole like calling everything violence and like violence is so bad. It means that they can make whatever they want, be violent. You're having violent thoughts, aren't you? And and I have some violent words too. And my independent socialist campaign for Congress is calling for an immediate end to U.S. funding to the Israeli state, an end to the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank, end to the apartheid system in Israel, and an end to both genocidal parties of the U.S. billionaire class. We need a global intifada, a mass uprising against this violent capitalist system on a working class basis. The Palestinian intifadas began in 1987 as a series of uprisings against the Israeli occupation. During these intifadas, Palestinians fought back with mass protests, civil disobedience, and strike action in Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank. This resistance has been met with brutality by the Israeli state, backed to the hilt by American imperialism. We need an intifada of the millions, which follows the historical example set by Palestinian masses and the example being set now by the Italian working class. These are examples of broad unity and militant working class action against the genocide and occupation. We need general strikes that will shut down the economy. Ooh, economic violence, right? That's you're doing economic. Okay, stop. We need general strikes that will shut down the economy, the ports, and the capitalist system as a whole until our demands are met. Some hope that Trump's latest peace plan could end the massacre, but history tells us that the Israeli state plans to carry through its plan of mass murder and ethnic cleansing to the end unless they are stopped by a mass international anti-war movement. The Israeli state itself was created as a bulwark for Western imperialism. It acts as a force against regional working class movements and on behalf of the capitalist class, which also includes the uber wealthy individuals in nations such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. The only way out of the cycle of genocide, war, poverty, and climate catastrophe is to end capitalism itself. That's why I'm a revolutionary socialist. All of that being said, I don't like violence. I'm not a fan of violence. I try to avoid violence whenever possible. I would like a world without violence. But I haven't seen yet, and hopefully somebody will figure out a way to stop people from being violent, from get a boot to the head by just being, super nice and like, no, that's all right. I don't know, maybe. Denver Attaway says the government today would call that right of the people terrorism. Right. Sure. Well, you can call anything terrorism or violence or whatever, We've already been told now that words are violence. Right. They're not. Denver says citizens can also challenge laws by bringing lawsuits. The Declaration of Independence asserts the right of the people to alter or abolish the government that becomes destructive of their rights. That's right. Yeah. It's actually in the Constitution. You have a right in the Constitution to abolish the government if it becomes tyrannical. There is nothing wrong with saying that. I have a constitutional right to say that. I have free speech rights to say that. I'll say it all day. This government should be abolished because it is tyrannical. Trump should be in jail. Most of the people in Congress should be in jail, if not all. Ringtail Fox says the Patriot Act killed the Constitution. Maybe, yeah, sure. Well, there's a lot of things today that are saying like, well, if you're talking like that, you're an enemy of the state. No, I'm a citizen that has rights under the Constitution. The Constitution gives me the rights to say that and to think that and to actually do that. So, cheers. All right. Interesting little clip. Take a break and watch some talk about Star Wars. James Cameron and George Lucas.
You did something very interesting with Star Wars, if you think about it. The good guys are the rebels. They're using asymmetric warfare against a highly organized empire. I think we call those guys terrorists today. We call them Mujahideen, we call them Al-Qaeda.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly. So were you thinking of that at the time?
Yes.
So it was a very anti-authoritarian.
When I made the film, I was thinking Viet Cong. Right? Because not much is different. Back in the day, if you were anti-war, you were a communist. You were a commie pinko. anti-American, whatever.
Very kind of 60s against the man kind of thing, nested deep inside of fantasy.
Or a colonial, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Right.
And we're just a bunch of, same thing with the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
The irony of that one is in both of those, the little guys won.
Right.
And the big, highly technical empire,
the English Empire, right?
the English Empire, the American Empire,
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah.
That was the whole point.
You did something very interesting with Star Wars.
Yeah. Says I'm not an enemy of the state. I'm just a Canadian raccoon that would vastly prefer to just grow tomatoes and read comic books, not live in a hell world yet. Here we are. Exactly. Well, I think that's the thing I've been trying to say over and over again is that, like, you're not gonna. I want it to be so. I want somebody to show me an example. But you're not going to piece your way to a better world. You're not going to piece out. You're not going to piece out to a better world because they just keep on coming. These motherfuckers are monsters and they just keep on coming. So I don't, you have to like find a way to stop, not just stop them from coming, but stop them from existing. And that's, could be a philosophical discussion for sure. Like, you can't just stop them from coming. You got to somehow like get in there and get, it's like, nope. Never again means not you, never you people again, like you crazy lunatic psychopaths who want to like run the world. It grieves me infinitely to know that peace is never an option. Yeah, I know. Well, it makes me sad too. I want to peace out to a better world. I really just want to like meditate. It's so hard that people stop being jerks, but that's just not how it works. It's just not how it works. Okay. It's just not. But there are lots of counter insurgency type of methods to use, right? That don't include, doing all the usual whatever it is supposedly that Antifa is doing. It doesn't include all that stuff. It includes, like economic, non-participation, right? Not serving ICE is like economic non-participation. Just like, nope. It's just a bunch of people going, nope. And I encourage that. I encourage everybody to, fold their arms and just go, no, nope. We could actually do that a lot harder, I think. Oh yeah, well there's a bunch of those. Isn't there a name for like Jewish people who hid their identity and absorbed themselves into other religions? I feel like there's a it's unfortunate that anyways, did y'all hear, this is old news, but this is very weird. They're going to build a Qatari Air Force facility in Idaho. Why Idaho? What?
No one other than President Trump could have achieved
Whoops.
the
Sorry.
peace. No one other than President Trump could have achieved the peace that we believe will be a lasting peace in Gaza. And Qatar played a substantial role from the beginning, working with our folks to ensure that came about. So I want to thank you. That gets, it's already been delivered, but as that's formally signed as well. And I'm also proud that today we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho. The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. It's just another example of our partnership. And I hope you know, Your Excellency, that you can count on us. No one other than President Trump could have achieved.
Awesome. So there'll be random Qatari fighter jets flying around the U.S. in the near future. That's awesome. Not awesome. Guys, if you like the show, if you want to support the show, lots of ways to support the show. You know the ways to support the show. There's links in the description box. All the usual links are there. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, Buy Me Coffee, Ko-Fi, etc. Whole lot of you support the show on the regular. You know who you are. I appreciate you. Yeah, I feel, right? Ringtail Fox. This is good. Little something from this guy. What's his name? Jolly Good Ginger.
I have a question for white conservatives. You say you hate DEI and everything should be merit-based. I've never benefited from DEI. You say you don't like trans people and that you should identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth. I was born with a penis and assigned male at birth, and I'm a heterosexual. I like women. I'm married to a woman. You say you support traditional families. I have 5 children. In fact, I have something in common with your president. I've been married 3 times. You say people in poverty should pull themselves up by the bootstrap. I was born in abject poverty. I grew up in abject poverty, and I worked my way out of poverty through the course of my life. You say government assistance should be limited to support the troops and that we should love our country. I'm an Army veteran, a combat veteran, Iraq and Afghanistan. I wore the uniform of this country. I raised my right hand and swore to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. You see, I am everything that you say you want to see in America. I am your American dream. So my question then is, why do you still hate me? Why do you hate even me? Every day I get death threats and hate mail from you. You make videos spewing vitriol towards me. You wish harm upon me. Why? Don't worry. No need to answer. I'll answer for you. It's because even though I don't benefit from DEI, I understand why it is needed, why it is necessary, and why it was created. It's because even though I'm not trans, I don't view the existence of trans people as a threat to me and my family. It's because even though I'm not gay, I don't view being gay as a sin. It's because even though I have a wife and children, I don't attempt to force my family structure on anybody. It's because even though I was born into poverty and worked my way out of it, I recognize that 86% of Americans will run into. It's because even though I served my country in uniform, I recognize that my country has flaws, that it is imperfect, and that it is not great and can't be great until the people that live within its borders are not dying of preventable diseases, are not being mass incarcerated at a higher rate than any other country on earth, and that we are not dying of homelessness and hunger. It's because even though I don't receive government assistance, I know that it is necessary that we assist our fellow human beings. I know that poor people are not the reason that our problems exist. Billionaires and corporations are. They are the reason that poverty continues. You see, we feed the hungry. We house the homeless. We love our neighbors. We end the war on poor people and gain a class consciousness. That's why you hate me. Because while you claim to care about all these other things, the truth that you're not willing to admit is that you don't care for other people at all. Because your livelihood, your success, your well-being, your comfort is more important to you than sacrificing even a hair for somebody who may not look like you, think like you, dress like you, or act like you. So you can stop creating new words for your old hate. It's not DEI you hate. You hate the same thing that your ancestors hated, equality.
Okay. Decent message there. Israel and Hamas came under pressure from the United States, Arab country, Turkey to agree to this. Israel had no rep. So, It's interesting. So they agreed to it, but did they? Okay. Interesting. It's PR. Yeah, and then didn't he humiliated Starmer, Keir Starmer. Peace plan is just a distraction before the false flag. I don't think a lot of people have, high hopes for this continuing. It may just be a break before, whatever else happens. That's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, UK is low key in a shambles. Like, how many prime ministers have they gone through in the last 5 years? And they seem to be, from a just man on the street standpoint, it seems like they're kind of falling apart. They're giving way, like the health system is giving way to the bankers. And then they've got police out there arresting people for social media posts. It seems very, well, to use the expression, dodgy in the UK right now. Yeah, it seems like the UK is kind of seriously, they've had 3 or 4 prime ministers in the last 5 years, haven't they? They just have gone through a bunch of them. And yeah, it doesn't seem like Keir has a lot of support either. Let's see. Hey, AOD's on Odyssey. AOD on Odyssey. Thanks for hanging out on Odyssey. They're right now, the ridiculousness of the Democrats is in full display, because they're telling you the big fight is to not have your health care get more expensive or further taken away. So that's the thing we need to be worried about now, is holding on to the remaining shreds of whatever health care we have. And it's wild. Scott, neither party truly fights for our health care. That's true. The only way forward is universal health care for all. And this is I mean, they're trying to say that the Democrats wanted health care for illegals, but it was actually, I think they were saying they didn't want to have the subsidy taken away for people, for the ACA.
And I know I sound like a broken record, but the way to end this shutdown is really, really simple. Pass the bipartisan clean funding bill that the House approved weeks ago. The Republicans voted to keep the government open. Call your Democratic senators. They're voting to keep it shut, not us. So when asked what negotiation, there's nothing to negotiate. We already passed, we said yes, right? Democrats won't do it. They'd rather please their radical base than put America first.
Radical base. I can tell you the Democratic base is not on any level radical. They're pretty middle of the road. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They'd rather keep the government shut down than negotiate to keep healthcare affordable. Post-Wobble is saying, keep healthcare affordable. Healthcare hasn't been affordable for decades. An example of how out of touch Democrats are and why they continue losing. Yeah, I was, what I was arguing with somebody about on Facebook the other day is I was like, the Democrats are helping the Republicans shift the goalposts, move the goalposts on people, right? Because the goalpost not that long ago was Medicare for all. And then Biden actually raised the price of Medicare, just regular old Medicare that everybody gets. He made it less affordable for people. Right. And they didn't give people Medicare for all. They didn't give people any help on healthcare. Did you see your premiums go down during the Biden administration on the ACA? I bet you didn't. I'll bet you cash money you didn't see your premiums go down. They probably went in the other direction. So they're full of shit. Democrats are full of shit. And now they're like, oh, we got to keep it affordable. Like they've moved the conversation away from like, weren't we going to give everybody healthcare? To now it's like, oh my God, if it gets any more expensive, everybody's going to die. Like that's the conversation now. Oh yeah, but everybody get your vaccination, right? That's free. Vaccines are free, buddy. Meanwhile, this is very confusing. I saw this article and I was like, what the hell? White House cuts jobs while migrant aid rises. This is under Trump. Headlines are sparking a difficult conversation about fairness and national priorities. While thousands of federal workers are being laid off during the government shutdown, spending on programs to assist newly arrived migrants continues at full pace. The contrast raises uncomfortable but necessary questions about how the government allocates resources in times of financial strain. This article examines the reason for the layoffs, the flow of funding in migrant aid programs, and what these choices might mean for Americans. So I'm not saying that, I personally don't think migrant aid is, a thing we should be, I think, we should help people out. But it's kind of like the Gavin Newsom effect, which is like every year they talk about, we're going to give everybody, Medi-Cal for all, right? Everybody's going to get health care. And then they just don't pass it because they're not ever going to pass it. Not unless you get these crooks out. And the crooks are Democrats, by the way, and Republicans. Don't get it confused. I'm not saying vote. No, I'm not saying vote Republican. They're all crooks. Get the crooks out. Get some not crooks in there. But Gavin Newsom can give free health care to illegal aliens, which I think makes people pissed off. right? I don't have a problem funding healthcare for anybody or giving aid to migrants or anybody. It's just that when you fire people, let people go, inflation's out of control. Nobody can afford to pay rent anywhere. And, everybody's homeless or, teetering on homelessness, living in RVs, living under bridges, living in tents, but you're still aiding supposedly the Trump administration is like, let's deport everybody, but they're funding. It doesn't really add up, right? I'm not saying you should stop the funding I'm just saying there's probably plenty of money to keep people hired, right? Federal workers and hired. There's plenty of money to give people free healthcare. Actually, there's plenty of money to give people free healthcare today, right now, in this moment. Tomorrow, they could just call a session and go, all right, everybody gets health. It just wouldn't be an issue. Anyways, it is kind of strange. There does seem to be a disconnect, right? Because Donald Trump is so like, we got to get these aliens out of here. But you're like funding migrant aid. It's weird, dude. It's weird. I'm glad that he's funding migrant aid. There's no problem, but they're laying off workers. Is what the problem is, right? You're laying off workers. You're saying there's no money for this or that. There's, we're going to take away the subsidies for healthcare, and yet, right? And so it does seem like it also underscores the fact that the Democrats and the Republicans are exactly the same people, and they talk out of both sides of their mouths, and they bullshit you on like, oh, we can't give you this. Oh, we can't do this, but they can totally do, they can totally send $31 billion to Israel for massacres. They can totally send money to Ukraine. I don't know what the number is for the money they've sent to Ukraine. Nobody knows. Nobody's reporting on it, right? Like, how much money has Trump sent to Ukraine? They don't talk about it, but I'm sure it's in the billions. And yet they keep trying to tell you like, oh, I'm sorry, man. We don't have it for you. What? Why? Of course you have it for me. Administration officials have described the layoffs as part of a plan to streamline the federal workforce and eliminate positions considered non-essential. Critics argue that the timing suggests political motives rather than fiscal responsibility. So yeah, that's very interesting. Just underscoring a disconnect, right? Anyways, when I saw the article, I was just like, whoa, it's a bit of interesting reporting. Oh, geez, Wayne, sorry to hear that. What the heck? Oh, man. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Well, you did the right thing. But I hope you're okay, man. If it gets bad, man, you should go to the hospital though, because you could get infections, and those infections aren't anything nice. All right, it's about time to wrap up the show, guys. Oh, we got a few viewers on Substack. Nice. Thanks for joining in the Substack, y'all. Side view, Kevin is wild. Is it? What is it? Is it weird? I don't know. All right, Bulla's here. Denver's here. Kevin Lawrence is here. Thanks for watching on Substack, y'all. All right. Well, let's see. I have more to bring you, but I think it's going to have to wait. Excuse me. Man, that one just came out of nowhere. Wayne, take care of yourself, man. Good job. You did the right thing, but take care of yourself. All right, guys. I got to sign off. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me. Oh, I did get some coffees from Reflect the Sun. Thank you, Reflect the Sun. I think it was coffees, or it was Ko-Fi or something. It was coffees. Thanks, Reflect the Sun. I will see you guys tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care of yourselves and all that. Okay? And until then, beware the bear.
Mm-hmm.